I think it's kind of funny how, like-minded people typically watch the same kind of videos. When I say let's give it a go, it's from that chapter, Mike, in that chapter, and he tells stories about crimes and stuff like that. It's interesting. Do you watch that chapter, or Summer Sanchez or Mr. Ballin and stuff like that? We probably share the same likes in that. But this is a conjecture on what was a Welsh longbow. And I'm gonna say that typically the type of bows that evolve make sense. What is their purpose? What is the geography, the physical geography of the place that they're used in? What is your need as far as draw weight? The pragmatic design of a bow. Now you look at it, and first of all, I'm going to say, when they say Welsh longbow, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a really long bow. It might be contrasted with a shorter hunting bow, or even one of the composite bows. Sidetrack here. It irks me when people always say recurve bows are composite bows, like horn bows with sinew backing. You can recurve a self bow. But would it have made sense for the Welsh, when they were fighting the English on their home ground, to have the form of a bow that was like an English longbow? It's a big, long thing. Many cases longer than people are tall. What were the conditions that the English would fight with their longbows? More open fields. Although, like in Agincourt, the archers were off to the sides on the flanks, hiding in the woods. Generally speaking, these long things in the fields of battle that they used them in were more open. They weren't dragging these things through swamps or over mountains. Contrast that with Wales. Now, if you're not Welsh, I am a quarter Welsh. Quarter of my family came from Wales, so I don't feel like I'm posing talking about this. Quarter of them came from England. It's kind of like within me contains people that fought each other. I think that's kind of cool. But let's ask a question here in our attempt to figure out what the heck a Welsh longbow was like. This is a question I asked my AI robot thing on the computer, AI mode on Google. I don't always trust it. You have to take things with a grain of salt and use your own filter in this. But it's like I asked, what type of terrain and environment did the Welsh fight the English in? Not properly and grammatically correct how I ended it with an in. Is that a preposition? The answer was the primary terrain and environment in which Welsh archers fought the English during the medieval period. Hang on to your shorts, people. We're going to start getting some clues what the Welsh longbow could have looked like. Was the hilly, mountainous, and often rugged landscape of Wales. This is not open, flat territory. It is hilly, mountainous, and often rugged. This terrain significantly influenced Welsh military tactics. Ooh. Oh, here's a breakdown. See if I can get through this succinctly. Mountains and hills. Much of Wales is mountainous, with high peaks, particularly in Snowdonia in the northwest and the more rounded Cambrian mountains running through the center. Excellent defensive positions and allowed the Welsh to ambush larger forces. Woods and forests. Dense woodlands were common, especially in the valleys and lower slopes, offering concealment and ideal conditions for ambushes and guerrilla warfare. I think I'm starting to form an idea what these bows would look like. Marshes and wetlands. Medieval Wales also included areas of marshes, wetlands, and boggy ground, especially in the valleys and coastal areas. The terrain further hampered the movement of heavily armored English cavalry and infantry, giving agile Welsh fighters an advantage. Valleys and ravines. The landscape is crisscrossed with numerous valleys and ravines. These natural features were crucial for Welsh tactics, allowing them to hide troops and launch surprise attacks on unsuspecting English forces moving through the passes. This difficult terrain made it challenging for the English to employ the traditional tactics of massed cavalry charges and pitched battles. The Welsh, being more accustomed to the landscape and fighting lightly armored, used it for their advantage, relying on ambushes, raids, and utilizing covered obstacles the firemen provided. Again, sometimes in bow development in certain areas doesn't make sense, but most of the time it does. Horse bows, I'm not counting the samurai, and English did hunt horseback with longer bows, but generally speaking, you know, horse bows were shorter, maneuverable, very portable. Longer bows were used more open areas, and then shorter bows are used in, again, shorter bows, horse bows, shorter bows, were used in rugged, mountainous, hilly terrain, especially when guerrilla warfare was used. Eastern woodland bows, they weren't 9 feet long. And so my theory on what the Welsh longbow used, and I'm not allowing the word longbow to cloud my judgment, because it could have been a bow that was longer than a short hunting bow or a horse bow. There were composite bows back then in Europe. Could have just been longer. Not necessarily super long, but just longer than the shorter bows. My idea for the Welsh longbow is maybe something on the order of 5 feet long. Pragmatic people, simply built. Maybe not with a narrow, deep handle, which were used in Europe a long time prior to the medieval period, but, you know, like a D bow that was just shorter. And I'm going to stick with that. So when I take my elm staves, now how did I misplace that giant piece of wood? I'm going to approach my idea for the Welsh longbow is approximately 5 feet long. I'm not going to round the belly. It's going to be roundish, but it's not going to be round, what you'd picture an English longbow. Because these people weren't stupid. They know how to make bows, and they also knew that, like, if you take a whitewood bow and you round the belly, it's not going to be as structurally sound as a flatter belly. It could be just a simple 5-foot bow made out of elm. It's not going to have horn knocks. This one doesn't need horn knocks. That could be a true English longbow made out of ash, and why go to the extra trouble of putting horn knocks on a bow that doesn't need it? And I guess that's about it. That's about it. Those are my theories on what a Welsh longbow was like. Have a good one. Thank you for watching.